Welcome to Don't Do Disney
Without Us.
My name is Daniel.
And my name is Zach.
And welcome back to our show. I feel like every week that I do this announcement, it's starting to sound more and more radio, like fake it. Welcome to... Anyway, hey, it's episode 5, season 2. This episode, we're going to talk all about runDisney and the runDisney Spring Surprise Weekend that we just did. But this, overall, is a little show we like to do every week where we talk about all things Disney, including the movies, the theme parks, the behind-the-scenes goodness.
And this week, the sports.
And this week, the sports, but only the running sports. Anyway.
No. We're going to talk about the whole wide world of sports.
That is true. We actually are. Anyway, if you've never done a runDisney Weekend before, or if it's something that you've planned on doing or that you thought about maybe you wanted to try or do, well, guess what? We're going to tell you about our very first experience with our runDisney event, and that was the Ring Time Badize. It was the Ring Time Badize, ladies and gentlemen. No, it's the Springtime
Surprise.
That's right. The way the runDisney, let me just break it down really, the 10,000-foot view here. runDisney consists of 4 different race weekends throughout the year. If you start in January, you have the Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend. In February is the Princess Half Marathon Weekend. In
April.
In April is the Springtime Surprise 10-miler weekend. And then the very last one of the calendar year is the Wine and Dine.
But that is actually the first race of their season. Their season starts in November.
Yeah, it gets. But regardless, there are 4 race weekends throughout the year. And all of them have 5Ks and 10Ks. 2 of them have half marathons. One of them has a 10-miler in place of that half marathon. And then on the January, the Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend is the only one that has 4 races, and that includes a full marathon. So that is what we're talking about here is runDisney. It is pretty much a, if you've ever done a run before, if you've ever seen, someone running a local 5K or 10K or something, it's a race. It's all set up to be a race. It's just done like Disney. It's done. I don't know how to explain that. It's a race, but fun.
Well, fun depends on your definition of. Now I can't talk.
Yeah. However, this is our very first one we ever did. I ran the 10K, so I did not run multiple races. I just ran the 10K. It was the Monsters Inc. 10K. I was lightly themed for this race. I did not do anything crazy costume-wise.
He was going to dye his hair and beard blue, but decided against that because you need semi-permanent dye for that. Otherwise, you're going to sweat it all off.
True. And part of my job is to do educational videos at work. And I have another whole batch of them that I'm about to record. And I really didn't want to record them all with blue hair and a blue beard and have to explain that. So I chose not to.
I just wouldn't have explained it, but be like, yeah, I'm blue. So what?
Yeah. Anyway, I had a lot of fun. I don't know what I was expecting going into it. I mean, I watched a lot of YouTube videos.
You did too. You watched every YouTube video under the sun.
I did, but I didn't really. You don't really know until you experience it, right?
Fair.
Because when you watch people's park vlogs or you watch people's event vlogs like that, they're not going to show you the really tedious, boring parts, right? They're not going to show you the standing around on Main Street for an hour and a half in order to get a gorgeous shot of Happily Ever After, right? They're just going to show you the gorgeous shot. So in a lot of ways, I really wasn't sure what to do. And it sounds intimidating when you know that you're supposed to show up between 3 and 4 a.m., in the Epcot parking lot on race day, right? So the race starts at 5 a.m., but you need to be parked before 4 a.m. because of the logistics of it that we'll talk to in a little bit. However, that being said, let me just give you my overall impressions about someone who ran the race. It was very crowded. But there was just so much good energy there. It was just everyone was in a great mood. There were people in amazing costumes. Everyone was super friendly. I saw more blue tag name, cast members out there. If you don't know, any cast member that you see that has a blue name tag means that they were voted on by their fellow cast members to be an extraordinary cast member that represents Walt's value. So it's like exceptional cast members out there. Everything was set up in such a way that nothing was a pain. It was all really well done. There was constant entertainment while you're standing in your corrals waiting. There was constant entertainment. There was every time that group would leave, there was fireworks. It was just fun. It was a great energy. And once you were out on the course, there was marching bands and choirs and DJs and just random cast members clapping and cheering you on and spectators cheering you on. Just the World Showcase was lit up to its fullest. Like every country had every light, all the outline lights on. The torches were lit around the lagoon. There's sound system was going in Epcot. It was a pleasure to run. It was just fun. It was just fun to run. I have no other way to say about that. However, Zach didn't run it. You spectated it. So was it as fun to watch as it was to run?
No.
Do you want to expand on that?
There are very few sports that I think are fun to watch. That could be because I just don't get sports, but running to me is not fun to watch. You're just watching a bunch of people pass by the area that you happen to be standing in front of.
True.
Over and over and over. And there's announcers at the finish line, which is where myself and Mark and Adam were at, that were making, they were doing a very good job of keeping everybody motivated in that last 25 feet. And, making people feel happy about finishing the race and, trying to get the crowd riled up. There was there's a callback to the Monsters Inc. laugh floor and what they were saying. It's like, they were like, when this group comes in, we're going to shout or hold our hands up and shout, "Hello, humans."
I didn't hear that. That was cool.
But at least from where we were at in the parking lot, at the finish line, it wasn't super enjoyable to watch, mostly because I was looking at the mobile tracker trying to figure out where you were at, and I had my phone up trying to catch you coming around the bend, and I'm like,
which you did.
Yes. I was afraid I was going to miss you though.
Yeah.
But no, I did not particularly enjoy the little bit of time that we were at the finish line spectating. Just wasn't super enjoyable. I was there to cheer you specifically on. Right. Not that everybody else who ran the race wasn't important, but I didn't know them. And
the other 9,999 people that I chose to run with. All right.
Not a whole lot of fun. Also, their mobile tracker, it marked you at 6.2 miles.
Yes.
But you had just stopped to talk to Pluto.
Oh, okay.
So it was like, are you finished? You can't possibly be, because you literally just said in Facebook Messenger that you're stopping to talk to Pluto.
Right.
So their tracker's a little bit behind where people actually are in the race.
I feel like the tracker does a combination of RFID sightings and then estimation, right? So I had passed the RFID marker I had passed an RFID marker at a certain speed, and it was calculating out that I would have been finished by a certain time. But I stopped to get my picture made with Pluto, so that took 10 or 15 minutes to do that.
That being said, I'm glad that the next time I am involved in a Run Disney race, I will not be on the spectating side of it.
Right. And that leads to it. Would I do it again? Absolutely, I'd do it again. We have both signed up for the Wine and Dine weekend for the 10K on the Wine and Dine weekend.
Yes.
In November.
I was a little jealous that I wasn't running this one, but that was before I realized that A, I can run, and B, I can run a 5K, and B, I can run a 10K because I've done it. And
It's one of those things. I don't know if I've talked about it on this show or not, but it is one of those things that when you realize the fact that to run a 10K doesn't mean that you have to run 6.2 miles, that you can do it in intervals. You can train yourself to run for a minute and a half and then walk for a minute and a half, run for a minute and a half, walk for a minute and a half. And by that, you can make it around without dying. You can actually have an enjoyable time doing that. I'm a brand new runner. I just started running 8 months ago. Started off by doing 20 seconds of running and a minute and a half of walking. So, to get up to a minute and 30 over the last 8 months has been, something that I've been working towards. Hopefully by November, I'll be up even higher. But I had a great time. I ran it with my sister, who was 70. So she came in like 10 minutes behind me.
Yeah.
So she had a great time too. All right, so let's talk about the event from a first-time perspective. There's a couple of different things that are going on. Number one is they have an expo. This takes place over at the ESPN Wide World of Sports. I have no idea why I can't talk tonight. Although I feel like I say that every week.
That's because words are hard.
Words are hard. So if you've never been to the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex at Walt Disney World, that's because there's not a lot of things that go on there. It is a huge, enormous complex. It's got restaurants, big venues, huge buildings, with the inside for basketball courts. And
I imagine it has sports fields.
Yeah, sports fields and all the like. So to do the expo, you have to go to the expo in order to pick up your race bib and your shirt. And you cannot race if you do not have your bib. So you have to, at the very least, go and pick up your bib for, the day before your race at the latest. So the expo opens on Thursday. So if you're running a 5K, you have to go to the expo on Thursday to get your bib before you can, otherwise you can't run the race. If you are running the 10K, you have an extra day, right? You can go on Friday. If you're running multiple races, you have to be there the day before, whatever your early race is, and you will pick up, you wear the same bib for every race. There's 3 huge buildings at Wide World of Sports that they use. The furthest one back, of course, is where you get your bib. And it is broken down by the race, right? So that the 5K table is, the 5K section is over here, and it's going to be broken down by your bib number. And so your bib numbers are numeric. So you just find like Dewey Decimal, right? You go to the 10K section, find your 5-digit race number area, and you go there. If you are doing a challenge race, which you can do challenges where you can do multiple races for additional medals. If you're doing that, you have your own check-in area in the back to get your bib. So there's the 5K, the 10K, and the half, and in this case, the 10-mile area that you go in and do that. So you go there, you get your bib. There are... I don't think there's any real photo opportunities in that building when you're getting your bib. Your bib was really kind of the most business-like of the transactions. You leave there. Oh, you get a bag. So you get what they call a gear bag. This is a big clear plastic bag that has drawstrings on it that you can wear like a backpack or a shoulder strap. And that is what you put stuff in that you take to the race that you don't want to run with, right? There are places at the check-in where you give them your gear bag, they write your bib number on it, they hold it for you, and then after the race, they give it back to you. So if you have extra things that you bring with you on race day, like, bottles of water and things that you're not going to run with, but you wanted to have before the race, no problem. You put them in your gear bag. They'll hold them for you and give them back to you at the end. After you get your bib, you then go to another building to get your shirts. And this one is divided by size, but not gender. So you are looking is race and size. So you're going to go to in my case, you go to the 10K area and you go to the large. And that could be a men's large or a women's large. And, it had its own line. And there's a line for every size shirt that you could imagine. Make sure you try on your shirt, even over the top of whatever you're wearing. Just make sure you try on your shirt because the sizing is off from what I've heard. Like sometimes the sizes run a little big, sometimes the sizes run a little lower.
Oh, so it's like every other Disney shirt in existence.
However, there is a counter there, another set of tables there that is called Shirt Exchange. It's right there. So if you try on your shirt and it is too big, you can just turn right around, go into that line and exchange your shirt for a size that will fit you. So make sure you try on your shirt before you leave that building because there's nothing else in that building. So you're not coming back to that building. So save yourself the trip. Try it on now. All right. Then once you have that, there is the merchandising expo, which is, a completely different thing. And I think I'm confusing something and someone's going to correct me on this. And now let me think about this for a second. The shirts are in the expo building. So, and by expo, I mean, every company that sells running things has a booth out there. Advent Health has a booth out there. So there's a lot of merchandise and stuff that is not Disney merchandise, but it like Fit to Run. Advent Health had some stuff. There was some places that sold massaging things and all kind of different run clothing areas and socks, just expos and things like that. So I take everything I said back about you're not going back there. You could go back there to the expo to get your shirt changed. Anyway, once you leave that area, you can then go to the Disney merchandising area, which is in a completely different building. And that is only Disney merchandise. So this is going to be the official merchandise for the entire race weekend. And it's broken out by sections by race. So the 5K, the 10K, the 10 miler, plus just the regular Run Disney section, plus the event weekend section. And there's as much Disney merchandise as you could possibly shake a stick at. There are pens. There are T-shirts. They're all running shirts, so the wicking material T-shirts, tank tops. There's hats. There's
water
bottles, corksicle things, Christmas ornaments. Pretty much anything you can imagine is there in the Run Disney Expo. And on the first day, on that Thursday morning when it first opens, you do have to join a virtual queue to go into that merchandising area.
And that was put in place fairly recently.
Yes.
In response to runners' complaints that people who showed up to the expo later that day or on day 2 or 3 had no merchandise because resellers picked it all up and flipped it on eBay.
Yeah. Or that they had to go back to the ESPN Expo. They had to go on multiple days there because they couldn't get in to get their merchandise the first day because it was like a 3-hour line or something like that. So regardless, I went on a Friday and I was still able to find shirts to purchase. I bought two shirts, one for the race weekend and one for my 10 miler, the one that says I
did 10K?
My 10K, what did I say?
10 miler.
I'm trying to upgrade myself.
You did not run 10 miles.
But I felt like there was still plenty of merchandise there. There were a couple of items that size selection was not very robust. I don't know if they restock them later or not. I feel like Disney's gotten fairly good. If you're going for a big ticket item like one of the Spirit jersey or things that that the resellers love to resell, you're going to need to be there the first day. But if you're just there for shirts for your race, there's not a big market for the 10K I finished shirts on the open market. So
I'm not going to buy a finished shirt for a race that I didn't run.
Pins are dicey. Sometimes the pins sell out really quickly. Sometimes they don't. However, when you register the race, you can pre-purchase your pins, and which I did. I pre-purchased a set of pins, so I didn't need to worry about being there.
Which you said was good because all 3 of the ones you wanted actually sold out.
Right. The pins that I got in my set, they were all sold out on Friday when I was there. So anyway, that is the expo. I know there are so many videos on the expo with video footage, showing you each of the buildings. Just off the top of my head, Running with Makeup on YouTube does a great job of all the the logistics of going to the expo and whatnot. It is big. Count on that. You're parking in a parking lot the size of Hollywood studio parking lot, and you're going to have to walk. There's no trams or anything. You're going to have to walk up to the expo and then walk further there.
You have to walk at Hollywood Studios too because they haven't brought trams back there.
So when you get to the Disney merchandise room, there are also PhotoPass opportunities there. So the day that we were there, we had Bullseye, so we could do a photo op with Bullseye. Because the entire weekend was Pixar themed. And also we could do a picture with the 2319 monster. If you don't know, code 2319 is when some child's contaminant has gotten into the monster world. In the movie, it was a sock on the back of the monster and he had to get shaved and decontaminated or whatever. It's a 2319. Anyway, super cool. And there's also those huge numbers that, the 6.2, the 3.1, the numbers that represent the mileage of your race, and they're painted in whatever the theme of your race is. So in our case, the 6.2 numbers were painted Monsters Inc. And you can get your pictures made with those. There's also metal replicas, like huge posters of what the medals look like. You can get your picture made in front of. For those of you watching on video, this is the coveted 10K medal here. It's adorable. It's a door. It looks like Boo's door, right? It's got the blue door with the flowers on it and everything. And if you open the door, you see Kitty and Miyazaki.
Mazowski?
On the inside. Isn't that how she said it?
Mike Wazowski.
Yeah, that. Anyway, ton of merchandise. So plan for all that if you're going to do that. Okay. So now let's talk about the day of your race, because the day of your race, there's a lot of things that have to happen, and not a lot of instructions, like not a lot of really good, like you have questions and there's not a great place that they're answered. Shout out to the Diz Twitter community. We have a Discord server that we can talk to them, and we had to ask some questions about spectators showing up that they were able to answer for us that you just couldn't find in the literature that they provided for you. Runners have to arrive by 4 a.m. I think I parked at 3:58 a.m.
Yes, that was a whole thing.
Yeah, we can. I'll talk about that on another podcast. No matter what time you arrive, it's very deceiving because you park and you can clearly see the area. You can clearly see all the tents and the finish line and the start line. You're parked very close to them. There's just a wall of porta potties separating you from them, but you don't go there. You have to go into Epcot security, so you have to go through security before you can go over to the race area. And for whatever reason, Epcot does not like to open the left-hand side security areas. So that means you have to go all the way over to the right-hand side security areas. So you're going to have
they make you walk a 5K just to get to the start line.
It is about a mile and a half. I hit my daily step limit, my goal step limit every day. I hit that walking to the corrals because I had some running around that I had to do earlier in the morning. But anyway, made it through security. From there, you can go and drop off your gear bag. There's food trucks there. There are huge water tables there, water for free there. There's a lot of water there.
Hydrate.
If you need some food, there's food trucks there that are selling things. They take credit cards, so you don't have to have cash. And there's DJs and there's other photo pass opportunities. And because of how late I was running, I didn't avail myself of them. But I think Sully was there, Wally was there, which I would have loved to have gotten a picture with Wally. And I think Jesse was there. So that is the photo pass area right there at the race. There's a big stage set up that they are doing constant entertainment up on pre-race, and there's huge video monitors all the way across the parking lot so you can see what's going on the stage. The sound system is amazing, so you can hear it from everywhere. And they do a really, really good job of keeping you entertained while you're waiting, like I said before. You go and you find your corral, and once you enter into your corral, that's pretty much where you're going to stay until they lead you out to get into the lane to start. So you get in your corral and then you just follow. you just follow the people in your corral, and you will eventually make it to the starting line. But you will be moving all the way across the parking lot to get to the starting place. There's let's see. Once you're at the starting line, there's a countdown. You've got the fireworks, and you're off, and you run the course. And it was a long time, right? I think I got there at 4.
Yep.
I didn't leave the finish line until
the
start line until like 5:50. So the way it works is there are 5 corrals, A through E. You are assigned to a corral based off of your run time that you've told them on the website and other factors, how early you're registered, et cetera, et cetera. I was in Corral D, which means I'm just, gen pop there. I'm not, I'm a slow enough racer that I'm not in the front corrals, but I registered early enough that I'm not in the last corrals. And then each corral has probably 4 or 5 sections in them. When you get up there, they'll fill up an area in front of the finish line, in front of the start line, and then that group will go, and then another group, but it's still the same corral, right? It's like they'll do like 4
there's
starts.
Like corrals within corrals?
Yeah, so they'll do 4 starts for Corral A, 4 starts for Corral B, 5 corrals, 5, just however it works out. And there's about 3 minutes between each one of those starts. So when you get right down to it, if there's 5 sections of corral, it's about 15 minutes between corrals. So, you're not going to start at 5 a.m. unless you're in Corral A.
And you may not even start at 5 a.m. It might be like 5:05 2 or something.
Right. Actually, the first group that went was the Roll Disney group, which are the wheelchair and bike groups that for disabled athletes.
Oh.
And they go first. So they actually started a little before 5. Anyway, where am I at on my thing here? Corral, starting line. Yeah, you start in fits in sets. There's an RFID chip in your bib. So when you cross the start line, your own personal clock starts ticking then. So your time is individual. The time that you see along all the mile markers is just how long it's been since 5 a.m. So you take a look at the time as you cross the start line, and you can mentally deduct that.
Right. So like when you cross the start line, the clock might say 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Or the finish line might say 2.5 hours, but you've only been running for an hour and a half or something.
Right. So that is an exhaustively boring section of what I did on race day. What did you do?
We got up and we took a lift. We would have taken the truck, but and you have to go into, in this case, Epcot, using the entrance on World Drive.
Yes.
Every other entrance to Epcot or road that leads to Epcot, they will redirect you, and they're blocked off because of the race.
Yep.
And this is true all across property for every single day of the race weekend. Certain roads will be blocked off. You will be rerouted. There are signs that tell you race traffic, go this way.
Yes.
And I believe Google Maps is updated to know about those road closures. I don't know if Apple Maps is or not. I don't think it is. So just be aware of that.
There are signs, and I want to add to that. When you see the sign, don't do anything until you see the next sign. So, it's like Epcot race this way, and it says forward, right? And then you go forward a really long time, and you're like, oh my God, did I miss it? Did I miss it? Did I miss it? There will be another sign at the point that you're supposed to turn. There's a sign everywhere that you need to see the sign.
Yes. Yeah. Anywhere your route might differ from what your usual route to get to Epcot would be, there will be a sign. So props to Disney for making it really obvious where you need to go.
Also, there is some amount of confusion because you need to be in the parking lot by 4 a.m. if you're running the race. A lot of our fellow runners thought that meant that the Epcot parking lot closed at 4 a.m.
And this was one of the questions that I reached out to our Twitter Discord people, and they're like, no, you can show up whenever the heck you want.
Yeah. The parking lot at Epcot remains open. It's just they limit the number of ways to get into that parking lot. So, and it's only like, you should have only had like the first couple of stalls open.
There was one lane.
Yeah. Because we're running through the stalls. That's why. Because we're running through the stalls in the other direction.
You do also, as a spectator, you also have to go all the way over to the right-hand security lane and go through security and then walk all the way back over to get to the finish line.
Right.
And note that the finish line in Epcot is not the only place to view the race. You can view it from lots of places around property. The Boardwalk Beach Club area is one of them.
Yep.
I just knew I wanted to get video of you crossing the finish line, so that's where we went.
Yeah. And on a race like a 10K, you can't do both. You could not possibly make it, with all the closures and everything, you could not make it from the Yacht and Beach Club to the parking lot, back through security and through them. Because remember, Epcot's not open because you can't cut through there.
Right.
So there's no real way to make it from the Yacht and Beach Club to see somebody there and then also see them at the finish line. So you kind of have to pick where you want to do your viewing.
Pick where it's important to see you, because remember, you do have that tracker that tells you where they are-ish, and just figure out where you want to be.
Here would be my suggestion. If you are a spectator and you don't want to be there at 4 a.m., because we had some...
I did not want to be there at 4 a.m.
We had some spectators that arrived, with the runners at 4 a.m. and they sat in the bleachers. And from my understanding of talking to them, there was music happening the whole time. There was entertainment going on the entire time. Of course, the food trucks are still there. There's still a lot of things to do in that area for the race. You can sit on the bleachers and you have your mobile tracker and you know where you look people up by bib number. So as long as you know your runner's bib number, you can find out where they are on the course. My suggestion, if you don't want to show up at 4 a.m. and you want to see your runner both start and finish, take a resort bus or when you go into security, veer to the right to go down to the bus area there, because the path of our race running through Epcot usually, and in this case it was true, usually takes you right through the bus area. So we are running. So there were people cheering at the bus depot before we went into Epcot. And that was very near the beginning of the race. It was about like 1.5 miles, 2 miles into the race. So from our standpoint, you would be able to see us start the race there. And then you just go through security and go to the finish line. So you would be able to see your runner both starting and ending-ish. Or starting-ish and ending if you do that. So if you go to the bus depot, cheer them on there. As soon as they pass, then head over to the finish line. You should be able to see them at both places. So there you go. Little tip for you. Okay. So where are we at? We're already at 30 minutes, man. Do we want a Fanta? Do we want to talk about the trip planning and stuff? I don't know. Because we don't really know.
I would say,
yeah,
the tip you have on there, if you're going to run the race,
yes.
any race, do not do what we did, and do full park days before.
We had people in from out of town that came down to see us, and of course, I wanted to give them the full
best Disney experience possible.
Yeah, and so we spent 3 days in parks. Right, so we spent all day. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in parks, plus running the race Saturday morning. So my poor little Fitbit logged 127,000 steps last week, so 27 miles or so.
So on our wine and dine weekend, we might go to like Typhoon Lagoon the day before, but we're not going to do a whole rope drop to fireworks day at Epcot.
Yeah. There was a really nice thing that they do this time. I don't know if they do it every time, but if you ran the race, you can show either your medal or your bib at Typhoon Lagoon for half price for you and up to 4 guests. So half price.
Yes. Nice for your guests. If they're not pass holders who have the water park add-on like us.
Yeah. And then accommodations. The only difference really between staying on property or off property at this point in time is the transportation. All on property accommodations have bus transportation that go take you to the race that morning.
Note that this is not your standard resort buses. It's very specifically signed as race weekend transportation.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the only real difference. If you're off property, you're going to need to drive yourself. Okay, so like I said, we are signed up for the Wine and Dine weekend in November. We are looking forward to that. We're both running the 10K, and if you are, or if you're going to be there race weekend, let us know in the comments, and we will try to make a point to see you or something. We did not get signed up for the Walt Disney World Marathon weekend because neither of us
weren't paying attention to socials, and we forgot to put notifications in our calendar, and they're all sold out.
And from what I hear, it sold out in about an hour, so we probably wouldn't have gotten in anyway. So we're not running Marathon weekend. We are going to try to get in for the Princess weekend, and that opens in June. The registration for that opens in June.
And we have notifications in our phones for those.
Made sure of that. Anyway, I had a great time at the runDisney weekend. I hope you did. I know that it wasn't that fun to spectate, but I had a lot of fun.
No, but I mean, you never thought you could do something like this.
Yeah.
And you put yourself up to the challenge, and you did. And I am so very proud of you.
Oh, thanks. All right, let's get to our heroes and villains of the week and shut this baby out. I think we started with heroes last time, because this is an odd show, so we will start with villains.
This is an odd show.
So my villain of the weekend is a faulty I know, I clap my hands.
Yes, you do. Stop it.
My villain of the week. Let me sit on my hands. My villain of the weekend is a faulty GPS. My sister was supposed to pick me up at the hotel to make it to Epcot before 4 a.m. since we were both running, and everyone else is going to be spectating and coming later. And she didn't get the right GPS directions to our hotel, and as the time was ticking away, I ended up having to, freaking out and having to take the truck myself.
Full-blown panic attack.
A very big panic attack about that because and I shouldn't have panicked because you don't actually have to be there by 4, and you just like that. They just tell you that you need to be there by 4
to give yourself enough time to get through security, etc.
Anyway, it was a bad moment for me. It was just not a pretty look, and I was hyperventilating. I was very, very freaked out about the whole thing, but everything worked out okay.
He was up at 2:30. I was up at 3:30 because I got a panicked phone call. Yeah. So
let me tell you, when you see people running across the finish line at a Run Disney race and bursting out into tears, I was one of them. It is because you're operating on 3 hours of sleep and a whole lot of adrenaline, and you're just a raw emotional nerve at that point in time. And it's like anything just will set you off. It was happy crying, but I mean, it was a relief crying or whatever. It was just very, I don't know. Anyway, that was just an aside. Who was your villain of the week?
My villain of the week is Citricos at Grand Floridian because it let us down. We picked 3 of our favorite restaurants on Disney property to take our friends to, and only one of them actually delivered.
Yeah, the food wasn't as good this time.
No.
Yeah.
Everything was just a little bit of a step down from the very first time we were there, which was amazing. Citricos is a signature restaurant, so it is 100% not cheap.
Yeah.
And it just...
I feel like this is the Disney food blog. The only thing consistent about Disney restaurants is that they're inconsistency.
So we're not writing off Citricos, but it's going to be a few months before we go back probably. So they'll get their third shot. And if 2 out of 3 are bad, then...
I mean, there's 50 restaurants or more on property. So by the time it circles back around, it'll be a year or so, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, my hero of the week is the Genie Plus and virtual queue system. And I know.
Good God, you're just trying to piss off the internet.
No, I'm not. You know what? I had 2 dear friends here that don't go to Disney, and I wanted to give them a 3-day, because they were only here for 3 days. I wanted to give them everything in 3 days. And I was only able to do that through Genie Plus and virtual queuing. That was the only way that I was able to get them.
Some might argue that that's a problem, that you shouldn't have to do that. But
no, that's it. If they were here longer, I wouldn't have needed to do it. If they were here, more often, I wouldn't have needed to do this. This was just a case of I need to get these people on, at the very least on these 4 marquee attractions in 4 different parks.
Right.
And I was able to do all of them. We were able to do all of the marquee attractions, Tron, Guardians, Flight of Passage, and Rise of the Resistance, as well as, a ton of other things. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Anyway, that was my hero of the week, the virtual queuing and the Genie Plus system. So, yay for you guys.
Mine is all of the various PhotoPass photographers around property.
Who we abused.
We took so many photos. I'm not sure Adam and Mark appreciate being dragged into basically every photo on property that we could find.
Oh, look, a PhotoPass. Let's go. Yeah.
I am of the mind that, yes, you can have your memories, but photos to me are important for the memory.
It's just so nice to have the ability to be there with your friends and not have to worry about who's going to take the photo or asking someone to do it.
Right.
And it's fun. And if you don't like them, fine, go get more.
Yep.
It's a.
And there were several PhotoPass photographers that were really personable, and they gave us a multitude of various different shots. And
also, not to mention, the PhotoPass guys on the race course are amazing. Just when you are out there on that race course and you see how many people are around you, and yet they're still able to get photos of you. Kudos to you guys. You guys are doing the Lord's work. I'm snapping pictures of my big fat ass. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Hey, if you want to see the video version of this podcast and you're currently listening to our audio version, we have them. Spotify, YouTube, those are the places that you'll find the video version of this podcast. Of course, if you're watching the video version of this podcast and you're like, I'd rather listen to you guys in the car or while I'm out running on my iPod.
If you're one of those people, I can't listen to podcasts when I run. I need music to keep me, especially on my run days.
I only listen to podcasts when I run. Anyway, if you're one of those people, we have an audio only version if you happen to be watching on video right now. You can find that anywhere that podcasts are found. iTunes.
Fine podcasts.
Yeah. The Spotify, iTunes, Google, 1,000 of them. What do I use? I use Podcast Addict. That's what I use. Anyway, any podcatcher, you'll be able to find us there. Just search for Don't Do Disney Without Us. All of that being said, you can leave a comment on any of the videos. We'd be happy to hear from you. If you want to send us an email, it's don'tdodisney@gmail.com. And the only thing that is left for me to do, Zach, the only thing is to remind everyone to please, please, please don't do Disney
without us.
This podcast is a proud member of the Pride 48 Podcasting Network. Check out more great shows at pride48.com.